Hey you guys, welcome to today's video. So as you can see from the title, we're talking about finances today. It's not always comfortable to talk about money, but sometimes it's important to talk about money. So we're talking about it. I personally always find it really interesting to learn about the different living costs between different countries because you're essentially doing the same things but at different price points. So I always find that kind of interesting. And also now that borders are open in Korea, I expect a lot more people to want to move to Korea long term and want to figure out kind of how much you will be spending versus how much you could be saving, XYZ. A quick disclaimer, these are my rough averages per month. This is not like exactly per month. I definitely spend this, but you shouldn't expect to be spending the exact amounts I'm saying here in this video because obviously you have different spending patterns and you have different lifestyle habits, but hopefully this gives you kind of like a rough idea what to expect. Now, my biggest expense every month is my housing. If you are coming as a teacher under a school or working under a company, most times your school or your company will help provide you housing. I'm currently not under that boat, so I'm living under my own housing. I paid my housing deposit, and every month I pay around 450,000 won per month for rent. Now, I do not expect anyone to pay this price usually. I think I had some sort of crazy good karma come back to me to find this apartment because if you guys remember my house hunting video, I saw a bunch of different apartments that were not this price point. I've also never lived in an apartment for this cheap and also for this much space. So to me, it was kind of a crazy like diamond in the rough find. I personally think this apartment was so cheap because this building in general is quite old. If you guys remember my previous apartment videos where I used to live, those apartments were all roughly 700,000-800,000 won. So that's kind of like the rough estimate or what you should expect to be paying. Obviously there's going to be apartments you can find for less. A Goshi one is like a one-room study room that is a lot less, or you can definitely find apartments for more. To give you a better idea, my one friend currently lives in a 2-bedroom for around 700,000 won. My other friend lives in a 3-bedroom for 1.3 million won, and then my other friend lives in a quite large 2-bedroom for 1 million won per month. Take with that what you will. On top of that, you're going to have utilities or maintenance fees. So if you live in an office tel like I used to, my previous apartment, I paid 100,000 won per month in maintenance fees. My current building has no maintenance fees, which just means there's no like doorman and like lady who sweeps around the hallways. And that's usually for larger apartments or buildings that hire people to do maintenance around it. And then on top of that, you're gonna have your utilities. So my utilities, I'm gonna give like a really conservative estimate and say around 60,000 won per month. And that is going to be very conservative and a rough estimate because they are so drastically different every month based on usually the weather. So for example, in the winter when it's really, really cold out and my apartment, I need to turn on my floor heating, it's more expensive. So, you know, a lot of times my gas and heat bill will be like over 100,000 won per month because I've kept my floor heating on for like weeks. But I've gotten bills also for literally like 4,000 won. So it really depends. And then my water bill is pretty standard. It's usually every 2 months and I pay roughly around 15,000 won per month for water. And that's just because the way the water system works in my building is like we accumulate it and then we just all split the cost. So that's standard across the board. And then obviously everything else is more subjective, but I'd say 60,000 is like a good estimate unless you live in an office tel, in which you definitely have to add way more to that because the utilities and the maintenance fees are crazy in office tels. Next, this is not fun, but your insurance. So in Korea, it is mandatory that everyone is covered under health insurance. And if you're working under a school or a company, usually they'll split the cost with you or cover it completely. I think before my previous school was splitting it with me 50-50, but every month you're paying 140,000 won to your health insurance. And you know, it is kind of an annoying thing to always think about that you're gonna have to pay, you can't get out of it. But at the same time, you know, I'm quite grateful for the healthcare system they have in Korea. If I feel sick or anything like that, I know that my insurance will cover pretty much like 98% of it. So, you know, I I don't really have any complaints about needing to pay into it, to be really honest, because it is a really good health insurance system. You can't opt out of it. Next is your phone and Wi-Fi. I'm under KT because when I first moved to Korea, my co-teacher literally just took me to the KT store, and then that was that, and I just never changed it, so it's just been easier that way. I've been paying the same phone plan for like years now without batting an eye, and then I recently got, when I moved into this apartment, I also got Wi-Fi into the package as well. So I pay around $150 per month for both of those together. And then there's different phone plans and different Wi-Fi plans. But like that's a pretty good estimate for how much you're gonna be paying for like a standard phone and Wi-Fi plan. Next, this one is very, very subjective to whatever it is that you need, but groceries, I tend to not eat out very often. I always usually cook at home or eat at home. So I like a fully stocked pantry, refrigerator, XYZ. Also, for a single person living in Korea, sometimes delivery is not the most convenient. Delivery here is targeted toward Korean households, and most Korean people live with their families until they get married. So there's never really usually like single person households in Korea. There are, but it's just not as common. So all the restaurants and stuff, they cater to larger household units. You know, if I'm craving like Korean fried chicken or something, I never really want to order it when I'm by myself because I'll never finish it. So I pay a lot for groceries. I pay around 270,000 won per month. Most times it's more, to be perfectly honest. It's never less. It's never it's never less. I definitely buy a lot of groceries. And then next is kind of what I call my social budget. So this is the budget for when I do go out to eat with my friends, or sometimes I just want to get out of my house and I want to get a cup of coffee and sit in a cafe and do some work. So that's what I call my social budget. And I roughly estimate 150,000 per month for that. But that's going to be different, obviously, depending on how much you like to go out. If you and your friends are going to like really fancy places or something like that. Because I don't go out that often, it's a pretty good estimate for me. Okay, next are transportation costs. Right now, I don't have a daily commute, so I don't need to take the subway or train all the time. So I roughly estimate around 50,000 per month for my transportation costs. I basically take public transportation whenever possible. The subway and the bus systems are really, really great here in Korea. However, there are times when I do have to take a taxi because, you know, maybe I'm running late to something or I'm out for the night. You know, public transportation closes at around midnight here in Korea. It's not like the last train like leaves the first station at midnight and then goes to the final thing. Everything literally stops at midnight. So if you're on the train at night and you're like 3 stops away, but it's suddenly midnight, that train's gonna shut down anyway. So, you know, so I do budget in times when I do have to take a taxi because public transportation will just not be open while I'm out. And then last is what I call the miscellaneous category, and it's just, you know, things that come up, things that I didn't expect I needed to be buying, things I didn't expect that I wanted to be buying. So for example, this past month, I bought a few things for my house. I bought an Apple Pen, which put me way over budget actually. And just, you know, like certain things that you just randomly need or want, XYZ. And I roughly budget on 200,000 a month. So this month I obviously went over because I bought that Apple Pen. But you know, on normal occasions, this is the budget I have for when I need to buy supplies or knickknacks, things for filming, when I, you know, occasionally need to buy clothes. You know, that always comes into play. There's always going to be things that you're going to just randomly need or want to buy, especially when you're just out walking around and you see something cute. I've definitely like been holding in the urge these days for that, but I remember when I first came to Korea, it was like really easy for me to be like, oh my god, that's so cute, I need to have it, or oh my god, I didn't even know I wanted that, but now I need it in my life. That's what this budget is for. I will say, if you have a lot of self-control and you can maintain this budget, that's great, but if you don't really, like, especially the first few months you're in Korea, that budget definitely needs to be bigger. If it's your first year or your first 2 years in Korea, you're definitely gonna travel around the country a lot more, and you're gonna want to buy souvenirs and cute little things like that. That's what that's for. That's kind of roughly how much I spend per month. Obviously varies here and there, but I think overall I do try to keep within this or within reason. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. Definitely let me know if you have any questions down below. You know the drill. You know the drill. Anyways, guys, it was lovely talking to you as always. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.